The opening thoughts on the Brady Farkas Show are brought to you by Sticks and Stuff and Swanton Lumber, Vermont's most complete locally owned home center with locations in Enosburg, Derby, Swanton, Middlesex, and St. Albans, and online at sticksandstuff.com. Okay, I had wanted to get to this yesterday. I wanted to end the show with this, and we ran out of time. And I'm kind of glad because now, instead of giving it 4 or 5 minutes, I can give it 8 or 9 minutes, and I think it's owed that. So Jim Bowden of The Athletic, who's a longtime Major League Baseball executive, and now he does writing for The Athletic. And generally, that writing is pretty good, and it's informed from somebody who's been in the rooms before of Major League front offices. He wrote a story yesterday that had the top 10 players, his top 10 candidates for Major League Baseball Comeback Player of the Year. And Eduardo Rodriguez of the Red Sox wasn't even on the list. He wasn't even on the list. That is completely embarrassing. And look, I'm not comparing people who are coming back from hardship. I hope every person on that list has a great year and puts themselves in a position to have it, okay? Trey Mancini's coming back from cancer. Corey Kluber hasn't pitched in nearly 2 years. Mitch Haniger of the Mariners has had a ruptured testicle and has missed 100 games in the last year and a half. There's a lot of players on that list. All 10 of those players would be deserving candidates in their own right. I'm not here to tell you that one case of hardship is more impressive than the other. But the fact that Eduardo Rodriguez of the Red Sox isn't even on the list of possible comeback player of the year candidates is an absolute embarrassment and an absolute travesty. It is a ridiculous oversight by Jim Bowden. In a full now calendar year dominated by the coronavirus, Eduardo Rodriguez is coming back from a COVID-related illness. He missed the entire season last year with myocarditis, with a heart condition from the coronavirus, which most people had never heard of prior to last year. He missed the entire season. How he's not on the list of possible comeback player of the year winners is a complete joke to me. I mean, there are a lot of people who weren't worried about athletes or weren't worried about pro sports when it came to the virus. It's okay. They're young and healthy. Eduardo Rodriguez is the poster child for how serious this virus has always been. And he missed the entire season a year ago. And you know what? He missed the entire season in his prime. Eduardo Rodriguez in 2019 went 19-6. For a not very good Red Sox team, he went 19-6. He was getting Cy Young votes in 2019. He was heading towards a potential huge contract, and he lost all of his 2020 because of the coronavirus. That is devastating. Again, every person on the list has a reasonable case for why they should win. And I hope all of them have great seasons. But Eduardo Rodriguez needs to at least be in the conversation. And the fact that he is not is absurd. Buster Posey of the San Francisco Giants willingly sat out the season last year because of COVID. And you know what? He was well within his right to do that. I am not judging him willingly sitting out, but he willingly sat out, and he's on Jim Bowden's list of comeback player of the year candidates. Rodriguez was forced out by COVID, by a heart condition, and he can't get on the list. That to me, I just don't get it. I just don't get it. I just don't understand it. Somebody explain it to me. 802-585-3026, Napa Morrisville, Napa Waterbury text line. Do I have a point here? Because it seems to me like I got a pretty darn good point. And if there's something that, if I wanted to side with Jim Bowden, I would. I'm not just here stunting for Erod because he's a Red Sox player. The guy had COVID, developed myocarditis. We're not sure how he's going to respond this year, and he can't get on the list over a guy who willingly sat out in 2020. That to me is ridiculous. Matt in Waterbury gets in on the text line and says, You're right, Brady. That is a joke. Who else was on this list that Erod wasn't on? Well, I've mentioned a few of them, right? Mitch Haniger, the Mariners with the ruptured testicle. Trey Mancini, the Orioles, who came back from cancer. And Alex Cora has already said he thinks that Mancini is going to win comeback player of the year. He said Erod should be right up there, but he already said Mancini, for the story he had of coming back from cancer, is likely going to be the guy. Haniger and Buster Posey, I mentioned, Corey Kluber. Ironically enough, Garrett Richards, Erod's Red Sox teammate, is on this list. Now, he's a couple of years removed from Tommy John surgery, but Garrett Richards last year, Garrett Richards made 10 starts. He's already he's already come back as far as I'm concerned. He made 10 starts last year. He pitched in the playoffs. I don't even think Garrett Richards should be eligible for this award. Shohei Ohtani was in there. Remember, he had Tommy John surgery, didn't pitch last year. Jamison Tyon of the Yankees is in there. Jed Lowry of the A's. Madison Bumgarner was in there. And Gregory Polanco of the Pittsburgh Pirates was in there as well. So, look, all deserving candidates, all guys that are coming back from injury, from extremely poor play, or from not playing at all there. We get one from Mark in St. Johnsbury, who wants to know what are the credentials of Jim Bowden. He was with the Cincinnati Reds and the Washington Nationals. So he was the youngest general manager in baseball history, by the way. So the Cincinnati Reds and the Washington Nationals. Nationals is where I remember him most, but that's where he also was most recently. But the Reds is where he was at the beginning. And by the way, I hate to put this on Erod, but Eduardo Rodriguez is a huge component to this Red Sox season. If the Red Sox are going to surprise this season, and again, if they're good, that will be a surprise to me. If they are playoff relevant, rather, that would be a surprise to me. They're going to need Erod to carry this thing, and that's an unbelievable burden to put on a guy who didn't pitch all last season. But Chris Sale is a guy we're not going to see until maybe after the All-Star break. Nathan Eovaldi, I never count on to be fully healthy, and then now the same for Garrett Richards, who hasn't thrown. Hasn't done anything in real volume since 2015. Everyone the Red Sox have seems to be a wild card. The young guys like Nick Pivetta, they're good, but a little bit unknown still. This team would be greatly stabilized if Eduardo Rodriguez was good. And I don't know that you can pencil him in for 200 innings after missing an entire season. In fact, I would think you can't, but he does have the ability to go deep into games, to pitch well within the division. We've already seen that. He can save your bullpen, and I think that bullpen is a weaker point of this team right now. The entire pitching staff is the weak point of this team, although I would argue the defense is also not particularly good. But the ability to save the bullpen is a big deal for the Red Sox, and they're going to need Erod to help carry this thing. He should be the opening day starter and be your ace going up against the other team's ace every fifth day. That's what they need from him if they're going to be good. I just don't know that it's really fair to put that expectation on him. Napa Morrisville, Napa Waterbury text line open as well. Nick in Montpelier. Brady, do you think the Red Sox could trade Eduardo Rodriguez? Yeah, I do. And if I were the Red Sox and they are in a position where they are out of the playoff race, like I think that they will be, I would strongly consider trading Erod. He's in the final year of his contract. I think you can move him to a contender, let him try to go win a World Series. You can get a prospect or two that helps replenish the farm system. And then Erod hits free agency next year, and you have a chance at bringing him back. I think Eduardo Rodriguez loves the Red Sox. And I think you would absolutely have an opportunity to bring him back if you trade him away, a la Yankees trading Aroldis Chapman a couple years ago, and then re-signing him in free agency. I think that could happen with the Red Sox too. And as you think about ways to better the farm system, there's only a few moves left. Erod is one, JD Martinez is one, and then the rent-to players you got this year, Richards and Renfroe and Marwin Gonzalez. Those guys can all be moved as far as I'm concerned. Danny Santana, but Erod is the best of the, depending, maybe Martinez is better, but Erod, for a pitching needy team, Erod would be absolutely a guy you would covet moving towards the trade deadline. So I think the Red Sox could, and I think they should, at least as the season goes on, evaluate their options when it comes to Erod. Because but I hope whatever happens, I hope he has a great year. Because I hope that after missing a year in his prime, I hope he comes back, stays healthy, and pitches himself to a big contract. I think Eduardo Rodriguez deserves that. And I hope long-term he's with the Red Sox, even if they trade him away this year. But I hope long-term he's with the Red Sox. He certainly deserves good things to happen to him because the last year was really, really taxing on him physically, obviously, and mentally and emotionally, I'm sure. And the fact that Jim Bowden doesn't put him in the top 10 of comeback player of the year candidates, I mean, that is ridiculous. That is like, I have never cared much about the comeback player of the year award. Like, Alex Smith, I knew was a great story. Alex Smith didn't need the comeback player of the year award to solidify it for me. And I don't care who wins the baseball one, but at least give Erod some respect to know what he went through. Buster Posey willingly sits out, and he's on your list. Erod is forced out by the coronavirus from the worst pandemic in a century, and he can't get on. It's just a complete oversight and a complete lack of respect as far as I'm concerned. So